what I do is I put these little things together with other filmmakers if they're willing, and just to have behind the scenes talk more about it, and hopefully people will be more interested in watching the films after they see how it's made and the challenges and the people behind the films, I think. You remember me?
Yep.
You remember? Man, that was a long time ago. I don't even remember.
I think you're the guy who sold me. I'm not sure.
So you've been doing the Lego thing for a while now. You call it stop motion?
Stop motion, brick film. It's got many names.
Really neat. Here's the first question I have. Like, how long does it take to do like a 2-minute?
Well, that particular one, I started it about 2 days after I saw The Chase. That would be a little over a week. It depends. Some days I animate, some days I don't, right? So.
Wow. For example, per second, how many frames?
I used to do 5. Now I do 15.
I noticed the difference. It's smoother, right?
Oh yeah.
It's much smoother. And you do all the voices, or sometimes people help?
Yeah. Sometimes I ask my friends for help, and that's usually when I write a script. Yeah. For most of my stuff, I just improvise while I animate.
Yeah. Do you like doing the voices?
Yeah, it's fun.
You get to be silly. Here's an interesting question. Like, you've been at this for a while now. You do comedy. Have you ever thought about doing like a serious drama or like a love story?
Yes, but I don't think I'll go for that. I really don't think I'll do that.
So I noticed for this one you had music from one of my favorite video games. And I like in this one when he was breathing heavily, right?
Yes. I was trying to insinuate because he was in the box, he couldn't quite breathe, but I guess there were holes in that because if you look at the actual Lego piece that I use, there are little holes. Oh yeah. I borrowed my brother's Lego Sesame Street set for it.
I've never done those, but they seem like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, they are.
Is it possible to do them without the instructions?
I don't know. I don't think you really can. It's really hard with it.
It'd be a fun challenge though.
With smaller Lego sets, maybe, but
just going by the picture, trying to like putting IKEA furniture together without the manual. I don't know. So your videos, you're getting some views. Are there other communities you could post your videos to get more views, like Lego forums? Like maybe go on, I know Reddit. There's a lot of unpleasant people there, but there's a lot of ways to get more views on something specific, like Lego, stop motion, Lego. So look into Reddit or Facebook groups.
Yeah. I remember I've entered back in March, I entered a little festival called Brick Film Day on YouTube, and I was one of 250 animators. Yeah.
Have you heard back yet, or?
Yeah, I was an honorable mention, but since it was really just a remake, I didn't really win now.
But I hope you keep making them because people talk to me about them. They say those are really funny. Those are really good.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I do. I've had 3 people this week talk to me about it. Yeah, and they said they really enjoy watching it. The thing is because people don't comment, because people don't like talk to us directly, it doesn't mean they're not watching. They just don't want to engage and comment. But they're there in the background watching.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's encouraging. But
it is.
Yeah, keep doing them, please. Like
Yeah, he'll go in there and he'll hide for a couple hours just to try out a new technique and see if it works, sort of thing.
And the humor, I noticed that the humor has gotten a bit more, like the timing has gotten better, and it's dry, and I like dry humor. Like, it's just very sarcastic British. And
are you selling guns? Yes. Illegally? Yes. Then I'm afraid I have to place you under arrest. Do you know how rude you're being right now? Well, stay right there and don't move. But do you trust me? Yes, but
in person he's pretty stoic though.
If I didn't have humor, I wouldn't have anything, I guess. But personally, I think watching the TV show Friends has helped boost it.
And you get to understand timing watching sitcoms, you know.
Yep.
I grew up on sitcoms.
We've watched some Cheers together too for that comic timing
Yeah.
and stuff. And he loves comedies. What can I say? So I show him a lot of 80s movies that were pretty funny.
Just have confidence in yourself. I just show up and point the camera at something and film.
Oh God, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, I love it. That's the best way you create. You just don't get in your head. Just feel it. I'm off, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys for the next one.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Like, when did you start filmmaking?
2019, I guess. I think it was actually when I met you at the Oak, and then I went to help you out on that seance one. And then I hopped right on Digi after, you know, dabbled a bit in like the collaborative aspect of it. But it's really been this year, I guess, that I decided to do the one-man band thing.
Do you find you're bound sometimes with the limitations of visual? Do you find you can go deeper with words than visual?
I think like you can go deeper in different ways. Like I find there still needs to be something that's going to draw you in both cases. And I think with poetry, you feel like you're laying yourself bare. And with film, you're less in the head of the person who's conveying it, and you're seeing what someone is doing as opposed to, you know, just trying to understand it.
Do you find that visuals and poetry lend itself well together? By that, I mean, do you think one demands more attention than the other and therefore less attention on the other? Because I know when people look at the visuals, they don't pay so much attention to the words if they're overly complex and profound. They don't have time to linger on those words, as opposed to reading them, which would have more time.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think especially like the more I focus on coalescing poetry with film and trying to, you know, have this poetic cinema thing, whatever that means, you need to be deliberate and careful in where you're choosing to put the emphasis on the visual or the word. And there's some times where you want a well-placed word to hit harder than whatever it is that is on screen, because that word's going to give some particular meaning to what's being watched. And I find if that's the case, like a long take works best. Like, you know, the eye gets lazy before the mind does. You settle into a sense of comfort with what you're watching. That becomes the normal. And then the word is the departure from that. And
that is so well said. And that applies to just filmmaking in general. You can understand those beats and that tone and just apply it to everything in filmmaking. Does your heart belong in the speculative or in comedy?
I think at my heart, I'm not one to get pegged down by genre. I think that, you know, first and foremost, genre is a tool for the viewer. Like, you know, like I tend to like comedy, so I'm going to use this moniker to define a number of things that I would probably like, and therefore you can sell me something that I'm interested in buying. But when you're a creator and you're going to put your thumbprint on anything you do, I think like really good films will have elements of every genre sort of tied up in one. I like exploring very, very tiny human issues. Mm-hmm. And like, this is something that I've come back and I say with horror. Horror is basically drama, but the stakes are up to 100. You know, and in that case, we don't need any suspension of disbelief on like the part of the actor or the storyteller to get behind that there is a danger to death. We all accept that. But it takes a very nuanced kind of writing to convey, you know, the danger or the stakes in I don't know, going to a funeral or even something tinier like moving. Like, you know, these very tiny moments, and then, you know, throw stakes into them. And that has a lot more, you need to be more convincing in what you're getting across. And you need to really explore the nuance of that particular moment in time a little bit more to build it up to something that an audience can be captured. But it's for these tiny moments and conversations that I find it's a bit more challenging, but a bit more rewarding to find what deep nuggets of truth and wisdom you can pull out of them.
That, and like you said, tiny conversations, but still substantial nonetheless, that reach out to people and connect us all.
Yeah, and even like the last one you did was like that too. You know, you have these universal themes people can pick up on. Aimlessness, being without anchor, and feeling generally, you know, void of purpose. And then you tie it to, I guess, the backdrop of night. Like, you know, you have some time of day we've all decided.
And the night
you know,
is
like,
a character as well.
Oh, 100% it is.
Absolutely.
100%. And yeah, you know, like I liked the way that you dealt with that. You know, this is a time when everyone is at rest, and this is when I'm most restless.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that.
You film a lot by yourself for now.
Yeah.
In front of the camera and behind the camera as well. Does that get frustrating sometimes?
I like to act every now and then because I find it enables me to, you know, speak in a language actors understand when I'm working with them, which is great and super useful. But I mean, even like to take an example, that chase scene I did in this week's film, like all the doors in my parking garage like lock behind me. So like if you go back and watch, you notice like you never, if you see them shut, it's only from one angle, because I'm able to have all my camera gear with me when they lock, and then I move on to the next scene. But it ended up being logistically very difficult to go around, set everything up. Half the time you go through the motion and then you find, ah, shit, I didn't hit my mark, and you're a little out of focus. You're a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I don't think we get the recognition we deserve for filming ourselves. I mean, the casual viewer doesn't realize how difficult it is, especially with manual lenses and.
And that's what I was gonna say too, right? Like you could do autofocus, but then focus is an artistic choice too. Like maybe you want to walk out of focus into focus. Assertion, like I just go in with the idea being like, okay, I've got something that I'm feeling, and I want to just assert that as true as possible. The imagery that was in this one, like, you know, you're drowning for, you know, some sort of artistic imperative or truth. Like, I think everyone feels there's a dissonance between what they're capable of expressing and what they truly feel inside. And I think that's like the great mission of most artists, is to just reduce that disparity a little bit and to say that, you know, I'm able to express in, you know, my own way as close to what I'm feeling as possible. That truth is, you know, it's within you, and it's true to you. You can't go out into the world and expect to find it there. There's no self-help book. There's no, you know, master class that's going to effectively tell you how to best transcribe your lived experience, your reality, your emotional landscape, and throw that out. Like you just need to be comfortable with yourself. You need to be willing to confront and face what you're feeling.
You always look forward to the next film, or are you?
It's made more enjoyable for me by having like that experimentation on the day of. Like I find that as soon as you turn it into a stringent plan, maybe you feel a bit more stifled. Like I know people talk about hating editing all the time because they're there with like the script beside them, the storyboard there, and you're just, you know, you're putting pieces together in a puzzle as though that final image is something that, again, already exists out there and you're matching it up. But if
something I'm learning still is editing could be just as creative as the writing process.
100%, and that's what I'm finding as well. I can completely change something in the edit, and that makes me excited to log on to Premiere.
Thanks so much. Okay, we'll talk soon. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, cheers, eh?
Bye. Did you ever consider yourself a filmmaker before the weekly challenge?
When Ottawa filmmakers first started doing these weekly challenges, and I saw it and I'm like, yeah, I don't really know, because these filmmakers, I mean, I'm not a filmmaker, and I don't know, just the way you sort of, I don't know, it said like film anything, lint in your pocket, whatever. And I'm like, the very first one, I have my phone in portrait mode, and I'm chasing my cat around the house and taking these videos and putting it together. And I just went, oh, what the heck, just put it in. But you know what? Way back then, it was easier. And you know why it was easier? Because I didn't know anything. I feel like the more you learn, the more you have to, like, you know, do things better. But
you're right about as our standards go up, you know, we become a bit more critical, and we try new things, and we see things that we did not necessarily see when we started. So we try to polish those a bit more.
But you know, every week I learn something new. I learn something about editing. I learn something about paying attention what's in the frame, how to frame things, sound, learning how to edit in sound. And sometimes you just go by a place and you're like, oh, that's a great location. I want to do something there. And you make a story to fit that location. Right?
Location is character. Absolutely. That's amazing, because you're seeing things through the storyteller's eye. And now you're starting to see things through the photographer's eye.
Yeah.
And you just bring both of them together, and it's like you got something substantial and significant there.
It just starts to build. So if you're out there and you're thinking, should I do one? Yeah, do one.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be complicated, you know. So on this specific film, there was a lot of symbolism in there, which I like. What does the snake symbolize?
To tell the truth, the snake was a mistake. That wasn't part of it, but I ended up using it because it worked so well.
We don't have to understand it because there is an emotional truth to things. For me, a lot of the symbolism, is a lot of symbolism in subtext. And I use the lens as a metaphor. And a lot of times I'm not sure what it means. I know how it feels, but I just go with it. And to try to explain it to people, they just don't understand. And that's okay, because it's a different experience for every person who views it.
Yeah.
And they're all correct. There's no wrong answers. I mean, if this moves you emotionally this way, then that's correct. It fits. It's perfect. It could symbolize 20 different things. I love the snake.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, it's the fright, right? And that's what the whole video is like you're running from things that scare you.
Were you using a stabilizer when you were running? Because some of the shots were really smooth.
Well, this camera is actually really good. I did have someone help me film this one because obviously I'm not going to try to do that. It was my son, Justin, who helped me with that. So he just took the camera and ran beside me. And it turned out better than I expected, because sometimes when you're out there filming, you don't know when you come home and put it on your computer what it's actually going to look like.
For me, it's like playing the lottery, because I come from a background of photography. So you would take a lot of different photos. And it's always fun being on the computer, being surprised. Like, sometimes I intentionally do not watch my footage just so I could be surprised.
Yeah.
So, speaking of running, did you find that because you're very self-conscious of the running at that point, because it's on camera, that it no longer becomes natural running to you?
Yeah, the first take or two were like that. And I look at it on my phone and thought, oh no, that looks like I'm trying to run for the camera. So then I just ignored it was there and just ran and let him keep up with me and just sort of ignored the camera. And then it turned out much better.
That's always a challenge. And speaking of challenges, throughout the whole film, you were acting scared, terrified.
Like to constantly have that looking scared and, looking over your shoulder. But I think I can recreate it pretty easily. So that was good.
Oh, yeah. Because acting scared and terrified is one of the hardest things in acting.
Yeah.
Because we don't often emote with our faces when we're terrified. So that is challenging. That is very challenging. What's your favorite part of this? Is it the acting, filming, or the editing, or the writing?
I like playing with all the things that you have and then weaving it into a story. And so that's why this one was a challenge, because I had all these clips of, running and jumping and all these things and being scared. But how do you actually turn that into a story that an audience can follow and it makes semi-sense to them?
Then you get to understand the other side of the lens and how difficult it is. And you get to play for the camera a bit better, understanding what it looks like on the other end. And at the same time, you write your own characters because you write it specifically for your range. And that gets you out of your shell and make you probably a better actor, I believe. But for me, it's about my personal journey, and letting go is the word I'm using for me all the time, because it's within us all to be the best versions of ourselves and the best actor possible, I think.
Yeah. My next one, I don't know what the theme is yet, but I know it's going to be comedic, because the last couple have been rather dramatic and scary. So I'm like, okay, time for some comedy.
That's true. And because I throw my film in there sometimes, and it's always this empty, sad movie where there's no closure in the world, and it gives you this like empty feeling inside your stomach. We need a balance of happy and Vince. I think. Well, going back to this one, what is the significance of the ending to you?
Well, exactly just what I said, and that is when I was thinking about the theme, the chase, I just thought, I remember when I was a kid, I used to have these dreams that I was like something was chasing me and I was trying to get out or whatever. And it was usually when I had a fever and I was sick. And then you'd wake up and you're all curled up in your sheets and sweating. And so I think it was kind of like that, right? Like there's something chasing you, there's something going on, and you're like, don't know what, because sometimes in your dreams, you don't actually know what it is you're scared of. There's just something there. Sometimes, you know, separating reality and what we expect, like, you know, we always expect bad things are going to happen. You know, when people in their own brain, they create these issues. I'm bad at that, right? Like you always think that something's going to happen, or if I go there, this might happen, and you think of the bad things.
Oh yeah, we fixate, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's like to stop doing that, and then you wake up and you're like, and then it actually did happen. So
I've never really had a nightmare, I don't think, and I've had chase dreams, but I'm always the pursuer. Oh God, I got a lot of therapy ahead of me. I got a lot of unpacking to do. Let's unpack that, Vince. I love, for me, how I took the ending was that things unresolved in our sleep can follow us into our waking life. And it's very symbolic. There's a lot of things. And that's the beauty of these endings. It touches people differently.
Yeah, exactly.
You're creating mood and tone and emotion. And that's powerful filmmaking.
Yeah. Well, because initially I thought, well, should I add something more to that end? And I thought, no, I'm just going to leave it there for the viewer to just go like, you know, just as you just said, whatever it means to you. For this one, because I did spend more time on the editing, because there was a lot of sound editing and a lot of like trying to make the motions move from one into the other to look like it's something going on. And at the end, I just went, I'm just going to submit it. I got to stop looking at it. Right. So then I wait a week and then watch it again. And then you can look at it from a fresh eye.
That's true. Rested eyes. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we obsess and fixate on things. So when I was just starting filmmaking, I was fixating on continuity. And there was a lot of people who have paid a lot of money for their education, and they've suffered for their trade, and they spend a lot of time. And a lot of people speak with an air of authority, and I'm not a big fan of that. And as you see now, filmmaking and editing and storytelling is changing, where continuity is not such a big thing anymore. So I used a lot of wasted space, a lot of wasted time fixated on the continuity, where I had to show a person going here, through this and there, and it added nothing, it took away. And now we just go from here, doing a slight motion, and they're there. And the mind fills in the gaps.
Yeah,
and don't be fixating on it has to be a smooth motion. It could be a run and then a slow pace and then a run. It's like a music video, like you said, like a heartbeat. It's got a rhythm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just keep seeing what works and what doesn't, and experimenting, like you say, having fun in the editing.
Yeah, you have to like the process. Otherwise, yeah. But I really encourage people to give it a try. I mean, I know, I mean, it could happen the opposite too. There could be people who have never done it and thinking like, I can't do it. But there could be people who are actually filmmakers and don't want to do something that is not stellar to what they think that it should look like, and being afraid of that side of it as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, most of us have the imposter syndrome. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just show up and point my camera. And it's just, if you talk to people enough and you share about yourself, you become disarming, and you find out that none of us have an idea of what we're doing. We still just go through the motions, and there's a comfort there. There's a beauty.
Well, yeah, it's that, and that's when it comes together is in the editing. Then you start to say, okay, this is what this is going to mean, and this is what I'm trying to go for. So
absolutely, a second appreciation. You understand it.
Yeah.
You create the story. You retell the story in the editing, and it. Well, I'm so glad. I mean, you're one of the biggest participants. I mean, if not the biggest. You've done the most films. You're like a superstar in this thing. Okay, bye. I'll see you
later, Vincent. Bye.
Thanks for watching my film. I could share briefly what's in my brain, I guess. I mean, I normally have just a vague concept. Like, I see the whole film play out in my head. Like, I see the beats and the moods, and I just use filmmaking as a canvas to, I mean, I just show up, really. I have no idea what I'm doing most times. You'd be surprised, you know? I mean, I move, I flow. Essentially, it's improvising, really, and I like it that way because, I mean, think about it this way. When you write something, you don't plan to write that specific something. So essentially, writing is in itself a form of improvisation. So just trust yourself. And that's why I always write the words after I get the visuals, except when I'm doing dialogue with actors, because then I have a structure that they can follow. But from there, we can go anywhere as long as we have the base. I'm still learning a lot, experimenting. I like the word evolving because it doesn't necessarily mean I'm getting better or worse. It's just I'm trying different things and going in different directions. And I like that. I love having the dreamy look in my film, and because I use a Pro Mist filter, and that also allows me to simulate a more film look, like the old-fashioned film look. I'm not a big fan of motivated lighting. I mean, I use my portable LEDs with DIY Fresnel lenses on them. For the car scene inside the vehicle, I just put a shirt on the dash to absorb the shock. So when we're filming Mario, it's just easy stuff because don't fixate. Filmmaking is mostly problem solving. It's all creative thinking. My films are like a photo album of my memories. I mean, that's what they mean to me. They're portraits of my friends. It's about the connections and creating something substantial that resonates. It's my love song to the craft and the people and the moments in my life. I love the process. It's the process. The way we feel tonight as we're filming this, the people we are at this exact moment, the people we wanted to become before we forget that. Oh man, sounds like a theme for our next film. That sounds really good. I think I'm gonna go write that down. Anyways, thanks so much for watching this, and we're gonna do this every week when we, for those who are willing to have a conversation about their film. And this way we get to know the people behind the film. And hopefully it's a bit more encouraging for everyone. So thank you so much for watching, and please engage this community. This is your community. You know, I gotta go pee. Thanks.